Okay. Week 6 we are talking about power, which is chapter 5 in your textbook, The Art and Science of Leadership. Okay. Objectives of this week are defining power, its consequences, its cultural roots, understanding different individual sources of power, team power, organizational power. Okay. Explain the process of power abuse, corruption, and destructive leadership, and analyzing empowerment. Very important topic, very simple. So first you need to understand the difference between these three terms: power, influence, and authority. Okay, when we look at their definitions, so power is the ability of one person to influence others and control them. Influence is the power to affect the course of an action. On the other hand, authority is the power vested in a position. Okay. Of course, power has an impact on the power holder, right? When you have power, some kind of power, it affects you. There might be positive effects, negative effects. This image shows lists. This image lists basically the negative effects here. It's not limited to this, but this is a good list actually. Positive effects. You can even think of more positive and negative effects. Okay. Then of course culture has a relationship with power, because in each culture, as we talked before, there's a different perspective for power. In some cultures there's larger power distance. What does that mean? That means the people who have authority and the people who do not have authority, there's a big power difference between them. Okay. Then there are the chapter talks about individual sources of power. This is very important. There are 5 individual sources for power, and this is proposed by French and Raven. Okay. The first one, legitimate power, is for position. So you have power based on the position you're holding. Okay, you can be a supervisor, manager, CEO. Reward power is you have a power because you can reward people. So people obey you, follow you, because they know you can give them rewards. Coercive power is punishment power. So you have power because you have the ability to punish people. You have the right to punish people. Expert power, you can easily tell what this is. People follow you. You have power because you have expertise on something. Referent power, the last one, is more like charisma, attractiveness, and friendship with people, so people actually accept your power. And then of course there will be different reactions to individual sources of power, right? Potential reactions. For example, if you are using coercion power, there might be resistance. Okay. If you are using referent power, then there will be commitment. So here what is important is that resistance, compliance, and commitment are very different. Resistance is basically resisting against the power. Okay, you don't like it and you don't want to do what the power source is asking you. Compliance is, and you are not doing it, you are resisting. Compliance, on the other hand, you might not agree with the power holder's opinion, but you still do it. Commitment is you are committed. Okay, this is the most positive one. For some reason you are committed to that leader and you agree with it, you love working with it, you love their orders, and you have commitment for them. So very different 3 categories of possible reactions, and these are sources of individual power. And you can tell that when there is a referent or expertise, you commit, right? For legitimacy, I mean, even though you don't agree, since they have the position, yeah, you go ahead and listen to them, do what they want. But coercion is punishment power, and it's usually rejected, resisted. And then there are sources of power for teams. Just think very simple, like coping with uncertainty. If a team has the power to make things clear, make uncertain things clear, of course the other teams will see them as a power holder. How I can explain this? So the source of coping with uncertainty power is a team's ability or a person's ability to help others cope with uncertainty. Okay, when there's uncertainty, you'll be stressed, and if you know someone can cope with that, can tackle that uncertainty, you will follow him. And then there's centrality, another organizational source of power, and it's the centrality to the production or service delivery process. Okay, so it relates to how a team's activities contribute to the missions and goals of the organization. For example, teams closest to the customer, for example, will gain power, right? The dependency one is actual dependency and substitutability are very similar. They both depends on the extent to which others need your team's expertise. Okay, so these two are about your team having an expertise in an area. Okay, so your team has the power because of that. And then top executives have some special power sources such as legitimate power and position. They have the power of distribution of resources. Okay, they have the control of decision criteria. They have the centrality in organization structure and access to all kind of information. So, of course, this makes the top executives powerful. Then there are three types of power abuse. Abuse is taking advantage of one's power for personal gain. This is unethical. Okay, here is important. There's a difference between ethical, unethical, and illegal. Something can be unethical, but it might be legal. Okay, something might be illegal and unethical. Okay, so there's a difference. It's important to know which one is unethical and which one is illegal. So abuse doesn't have to be illegal. Okay, taking advantage of one's power for personal gain, but it's of course unethical. Corruption is abusing one's power to benefit oneself or another person. This is illegal. Okay, and of course it's unethical. Destructive and toxic leadership is violating the interest of the organization, okay, and the well-being of followers. Unethical, it might not be always illegal. So this slide lists leader characteristics that cause abuse and corruptions. Next slide lists follower characteristics that lead to abuse and corruption. And these are the organizational factors that cause abuse and corruption. Okay, so this is a cycle. Leader characteristics, follower compliance, all of them affects. And then what are the outcomes? Poor decisions, low engagement, low satisfaction, high turnover. Turnover is how much your employees resign and go to other companies. Okay, low performance, definitely, right? And ethical or legal violations, which might cause your company a lot of problems financially and legally. And this slide lists what are the solutions to corruption. Okay, and then the last part of the chapter is talking about empowerment. What is empowerment? Empowerment is giving everyone the right to lead. So it's not like a centralized structure, it's decentralized. You're selecting and training leaders and employees appropriately. Almost all your followers have decision-making authority. Okay, So it's actually in some cases very helpful. It makes all the employees have more connection to the company, to the organization's goals, objectives, missions, visions. Okay, so power is distributed among everyone in the company. So that's the last part of the chapter that you need to read about. Okay, so in these lectures I'm summarizing the main points in that week's lecture, but to get detailed information you have to read the chapter, because in the book it gives you also examples from like recent companies or in the past, whatever happened to companies related to this context. So please read the chapter. Just watching this lecture will not be enough to comprehensively understand the topic. Okay, so thank you for listening. This was the week 6 summary video lecture. I'll talk to you next week. Thank you.